Right, so in today's video we're going to be covering a few new improvements and features added to Freemode as part of the San Andreas Mercenaries update. There's not too much to cover and most of it's just kind of simple gameplay improvements and a few tweaks, so let's get straight into it. Now, first things first, we're going to discuss Moore's Mutual Insurance. So, how has Rockstar improved this? Well, if you own several different garages like I do, you might notice that when you have vehicles destroyed that aren't in the same garage, you have to make multiple phone calls in order to get them all back. Because as soon as you claim from one garage, the phone call ends and you have to call them again and again for each garage just to get all your cars back. But now you can claim all your vehicles back with just one phone call, as you can see here. This is definitely a great improvement because I really did find it a pain in the arse having to keep calling them over and over again just to get all your cars back. Anyways, another improvement to Moore's Mutual is that you won't get charged for vehicles getting destroyed during contact missions, even if you're the one that destroys them. So here you can see I've blown up my vehicle during a mission, and when I call Moore's Mutual after the mission, I get it back free of charge. Also, some other things to mention is that you can now apparently have custom tags for your garage. Now, the reason I say apparently is because I haven't been able to find this feature yet, so maybe it will be added in the coming days, or I could just be missing it. Anyway, another significant improvement to mention is that you can now request your Terabyte MOC or Avenger without having to return it to storage first. And what I mean by this is that previously, if you were far away from, let's say, your Terabyte and you wanted to request it, you'd have to return it to storage first and then re-request it, as you can see me doing here, which was kind of annoying. Whereas now, even if you have it out, you can simply request it without having to return it to storage first. And also, it seems that the cooldown time has been shortened to 2 minutes as opposed to 5 minutes. So the next thing on this list is arguably not an improvement, because what Rockstar have done is remove lesser used vehicles from in-game websites. And while I understand the motive behind this, I think just removing vehicles entirely from the website is a bit too much, because I'm sure there's players that probably still want to buy these vehicles. However, it does say these vehicles will be made available via events, showrooms, the Lucky Wheel and other places. Anyways, next on the list we have a small change when it comes to starting an organisation. Instead of scrolling down the interaction menu, it simply says register as a boss at the top, and by clicking on it you can either become an MC or a CEO. So now we're going to talk about body armour. Firstly, it says that any player can purchase all types of body armour regardless of their rank. And secondly, there's now a buy all option so you can quickly restock without having to press the A button repeatedly. And another improvement to body armour is that if you use a bunch during a mission, as you can see here I have 7 left, if you fail that mission and then quick restart, your armour will be restocked to what it was previously when you started the mission. And also, when equipping body armour via the weapon wheel, the type of armour used will be relative to how much damage the player has taken. Anyways, moving on from body armour, when you're in freefall or using a parachute, it says that you will no longer receive phone calls from English Dave or Tom Connors, which is good because those characters are annoying as hell. Another quick thing to mention is that the Madrazo dispatch missions can now be done solo. Now, this next feature is something that I feel should have been added ages ago. So, as we know, to sprint in third person you have to keep tapping the A button, or X if you're on PlayStation. But now, there's a new option in settings called Sprint Mode, and if you change it from tap to sprint to hold to sprint, you can now sprint in third person simply by holding the A button. Now, I think this is a great feature that is well overdue, because having to constantly spam the A button is annoying and it kind of hurts your thumb after a while, and also it increases wear and tear on your controller as well. Anyways, let's talk about the Acid Lab. So, if you go into the interaction menu, you can now name your Acid Lab, and you can also name your product as well. Doing this will grant you a 5% bonus when selling your product, which we'll probably cover in a later video. So now, with the daily objectives, all players can participate regardless of their rank, which is great. And finally, we're going to move on to discussing the Hydra, the Laser, and then the Orbital Cannon. Now, with the Hydra and Laser, the cannons have been nerfed slightly. From what I can see, the fire rate has been decreased, but I'm not too sure if they've nerfed the damage as well. And finally, moving on to the Orbital Cannon, it says that it can no longer be instantly reset or refunded to prevent players from being repeatedly targeted. Now, I'm assuming that that's referring to some sort of glitch or exploit that players have discovered, allowing them to fire the Orbital Cannon over and over again. But I don't use the Orbital Cannon, so I'm not aware of this myself. But anyways, that's just a few gameplay improvements and features added to Freemode as part of this update. There wasn't really much to cover, so we're going to wrap things up here. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed, and also consider subscribing if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video.